The Tuesday, December 27th, 2022 Public Works Committee meeting. Now is time for roll call and determination of quorum.
Roberts.
Here.
Lehman. Stroman. Nordstrom.
Here.
Ham. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Now is time for adoption of the agenda. Have a motion to adopt by Councilman Lehman, a second by Councilman Stroman. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Now is time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I don't see anybody that wants to be in general public comments. I will open and close it. We'll move on to consent items, items 1 through 11, and I will turn it over to Dale Tech. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll speak to items 2 through 10, and then I believe Kip Harrington will speak to item 11. Item number 2, approve acceptance of an infrastructure project, Creek Drive. This was oversized infill agreement. As part of the agreement, this item has to come to you for acceptance. The project's been accepted and closed out. Item number 3 is authorization to advertise for bids for the Rapid City Fire Department Fire Training Facility Site Improvements Project. That was budgeted, I believe, primarily through the Vision Fund. I'm sorry, that's not correct. The funding for that was for the COVID dollars, I believe. That was part of the entire package for the Station 1. Item number 4 is advertise bids for a culvert crossing in the South Truck Route Drainage Basin. Project's ready to bid. Item number 5 is a change order. This was a trenchless sanitary sewer rehab project over by the fish hatchery. The reason for the increase is there was a considerable amount, additional amount of the bike path sidewalk that needed to be replaced with this project. That was not planned for and became apparent during the project that would be impacted. Item number 6, change order for the air handling unit project here in City Hall. It was found during the construction that the electrical panels were obsolete and out of date and had to be upgraded as well as part of the project. Item number 7 is what once was our annual federal transit grant. It's called a 5307 grant. Over the last few years with once again, COVID dollars, Rapid Transit's been able to leverage those funds to help pay for operating and capital projects. We are now out of those funds and now have to return to our standard Federal Transit Authority 5307 grant funding. So this is routine business. You just haven't seen it in a while. And as you can see by the title, Federal Transit has going all the way back to 2019 through 2021. So they're using older funds to help us with our operation and capital funding as we had done historically prior to COVID. Item number 8 and 9 are 2 EPA grants that we will be applying for if approved by council. These are no-cost share grants for solid waste. One is for public education and outreach, which we will apply for up to $2 million worth of grant funding. And then the second grant is can be used for equipment, another thing also for recycling, and we'll be applying for up to $3.5 million. So if we are fortunate enough to receive any grant funding from these 2 applications, that will be a huge benefit to the community and certainly to our solid waste division. And I believe one more item for me, it's a sidewalk variance request, Pinedale Heights, Pinedale Circle, I believe. There aren't any sidewalks in that area, and staff's recommendation is to approve the variance request. I will stand for questions unless you want to hear from Mr. Harrington on the last item first.
Why don't we answer questions on the first 10? Go ahead, Mr. Nordstrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to compliment the folks that are involved with the number 8 and 9 because I listened to the webinars and I reached out to RIA for help to understand what they were telling me, and so the kudos need to go to the people in the solid waste division. So it was an interesting webinar, and greatly appreciate this first step in doing the education and outreach, and then getting into our recycling efforts. There's a lot of data that's got to be collected. So thanks, folks. Really appreciate what you're doing. Yield.
Mr. Stroman,
Thank you, Chair. May I address Director Tech?
you may.
Dale, I just have a question on number 5, and that's the change order for about $48,000. And I'm looking at the original contract amount was $711,000.
Bear with me just 1 second. I'm nearly there. Okay.
I realize this contract's already been in process, but I was just looking at some of the charges or on the bid, and the first one is mobilization for $45,000. What does that mean? Part of the contract is that, and then there's incidental work for $85,000. So can you just tell me briefly what those steps are?
Sure. Mobilization is an item that is bid on all city projects as well as nearly every other public works or civil type project by the DOT. Mobilization is the cost that the contractors have to mobilize all their equipment to the site, construction trailer, everything that they need to assemble that, not necessarily materials, but certainly equipment to do the job. Some of these, I don't know specifically on this project if there was a piece of equipment that is specialized that they needed to rent and import from some other supplier, but certainly those mobilization costs. Incidental costs typically are costs that are identified they're identified in the contract that you need to replace a fence post. Well, you don't put a bid item for the fence post. You lump a bunch of incidental items together and have them identified. So that's what an incidental bid item typically is. It's work identified in the construction plans that does not have a specific bid item to it.
I yield.
Thank you. If we have no more questions, we'll move on to Kip on item 11.
Good afternoon, Kip Harrington, Long Range Planning. Item 11 is a vacation of section line right-of-way located west of 79 in the Wasteland subdivision, which is also known as the Rapid City Landfill and Solid Waste Site. So this came about through our Public Works Department looking to vacate a portion of section line highway that extends throughout our landfill area. There's a couple reasons they wanted to do it. Number one, it's not shown as any sort of transportation corridor on our major street plan or in our metropolitan transportation plan, so it's not really needed for our future transportation network. Also, you don't really want a roadway running right through the middle of your landfill if at all possible. And the other thing is that by vacating this section line, it allows them to increase their operations and move equipment back and forth without any risk of any public or any sort of travel on that right-of-way, because right now, as a section line right-of-way, that is open to the traveling public for any reason. Even though there's no road constructed there, it is still public right-of-way. So by vacating this right-of-way, it makes for a more secure operation for the landfill. They can fence it off if they need to, and will allow them to move equipment and things back and forth throughout the landfill and increase public safety. And we do have representatives from the landfill and Public Works here if you have any additional questions about the operations aspect of that area.
Thank you, and it looks like we have a question from Councilman Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kip, I'm not sure if you can answer this, but just need a little bit of reminder about power line or the utility line that runs through that property. Is that relocated, or is a piece that's on the west edge of this property as well?
There is a utility easement along the west edge of the property that also runs adjacent to this right-of-way, and that section is not being vacated because that is a power line easement.
That's, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Vicky?
Mr. Chair, thank you. That's a great question, and we did want to note that for the portion of the section line that is being vacated, there are no existing utilities, and we did receive letters of concurrence from all of the affected utility companies that they are in agreement with vacating this portion of the section line.
Thank you. If we don't have any other,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
it is important to note also that the Planning Commission unanimously recommended to approve this request.
All right, thank you. No more questions? If not, I'll look for a motion for items 1 through 11. Have a motion by Councilman Ham, a second by Councilman Nordstrom. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Move to adjourn. Have a motion to adjourn. Second. A second. Thank you.